Welcome back to the channel. Today 1992p quarter dollar is a coin that might seem unremarkable to most, but to a select group of numismatists, collectors, and even casual enthusiasts, it represents an extraordinary chapter in the history of American coinage. This particular quarter, minted at the Philadelphia Mint, initially seemed like just another ordinary coin, part of the vast number of quarters in circulation at the time. In 1992, millions of these quarters were distributed across the United States for everyday use. People used them to buy items from vending machines, pay for parking, and exchange them as small change. To most, there was nothing out of the ordinary about this coin. It had the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse side and the classic eagle design on the reverse, yet, lurking within this seemingly mundane coin was an error, an imperfection in the minting process that would go on to make it one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. The mistake that occurred in the minting of the 1992p quarter dollar was so subtle that, at first, few even noticed it. It wasn't until years later that collectors began to realize the importance of this coin and the hidden treasure it represented. What began as just another quarter in circulation would eventually become a coin with a value in the millions, capturing the attention of collectors and investors alike. The 1992p quarter dollar would go on to be worth $231 million, an amount that seemed almost impossible for a coin originally worth just 25 cents. In the world of coin collecting, there are rare errors that can turn an ordinary coin into a coveted piece of history, and the 1992p quarter dollar is one of the best examples of this phenomenon. The coin, with a mint mark indicating it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carried a double-struck mint mark error. In simpler terms, the P mint mark, which was meant to be clearly stamped once on the coin, had been struck twice, overlapping slightly. The result was a coin with a mint mark that was imperfect, but which would eventually become its defining feature. For those who aren't familiar with how coin minting works, the process may seem quite simple. After all, coins are mass-produced, and billions of them are struck each year. But within that large-scale production, small errors can sometimes occur, leading to what are called minting errors. These errors might be as simple as a die crack, a misalignment, or an improperly struck mint mark. Many of these errors go unnoticed or are not considered significant enough to affect the coin's value. But every now and then, a particular error will capture the attention of collectors and create a situation where a seemingly ordinary coin becomes a rare and highly valuable treasure. The 1992p quarter dollar was one of these coins. The error, which occurred during the minting process, wasn't widespread. In fact, only a small percentage of the 1992p quarters minted at the Philadelphia Mint had this double-struck mint mark. For most of the millions of these quarters, the mint mark was properly stamped once, and the coin appeared exactly as it was intended. But for a lucky few, the double-stamped P on their quarters would make them incredibly rare and highly sought after by numismatists. It's important to note that errors like this are not uncommon in the world of coinage. Minting errors are a natural part of the process, and over the years, there have been countless examples of coins that were struck with flaws. Some of these errors are relatively minor and do not affect the overall value of the coin, while others are much more significant, making the coin rare and valuable. In the case of the 1992p quarter dollar, it was the combination of the rarity of the error and the growing awareness of the coin's unique status that propelled it to extraordinary heights. What had started as a simple minting mistake would soon become one of the most famous and valuable error coins in the world. As time passed and more collectors became aware of the double-struck mint mark on the 1992p quarter, the demand for these coins grew. The initial discovery was relatively slow, as only a small group of collectors noticed the unusual mint mark on certain coins. But as word spread within the numismatic community, the significance of the 1992p quarter began to grow. The coin became highly desirable, and its value started to climb. Coins that were once worth just 25 cents were now selling for thousands of dollars, and the finest examples with the double-struck mint mark were fetching prices that were hard to believe. But the story of the 1992p quarter dollar doesn't end with its growing value. The coin's worth continued to rise as more and more collectors, investors, and enthusiasts sought out this rare and valuable piece of American history. The increasing demand for the 1992p quarter dollar led to a frenzy in the coin collecting world. Auctions began to report staggering sale prices, with some of the most pristine examples of the double-struck mint mark coin selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. What was once an ordinary quarter, used in everyday transactions, had now become a symbol of numismatic excellence and rarity. At the height of the coin's fame, its value reached astronomical levels, with estimates suggesting that some specimens could be worth as much as $231 million. This incredible value was driven not only by the rarity of the double-struck mint mark but also by the fact that very few of these era coins remained in circulation. As collectors bought up the available specimens, the supply dwindled, further driving up the price. Coins that had been tucked away in drawers, forgotten in pockets, or buried in jars of loose change were now being pulled out and examined with excitement, as people realized that they had in their possession a potential fortune. It's important to understand why the 1992 quarter dollar became so valuable. In coin collecting, rarity is often the primary factor that drives up a coin's value. The rarer a coin is, the more desirable it becomes to collectors. In this case, the double-struck mint mark era was rare enough to make the 1992 quarter a highly sought-after commodity. But rarity alone isn't enough to make a coin valuable. The condition of the coin is also crucial. Coins that are well preserved, with little to no wear or damage, are far more valuable than those that are heavily worn. As a result, the finest examples of the 1992 quarter, those in pristine condition with the double-struck mint mark clearly visible, became the most valuable. The most prized specimens were the ones that had been carefully preserved and stored, untouched by the wear and tear that most coins suffer in everyday circulation. These well-preserved coins became symbols of the rarest of rare finds, and their value continued to grow as the demand for them increased. Coin collectors who were lucky enough to stumble upon a 1992 quarter dollar in their change were suddenly holding a small fortune. Many of these lucky individuals had no idea that they had just found a coin that would make them incredibly wealthy. Some collectors even found themselves in the position of deciding whether to sell their rare coins or hold onto them in the hope that their value would continue to rise. For some, the decision to sell turned out to be a wise one, as the value of the 1992 quarter dollar continued to increase over time, reaching jaw-dropping figures that few could have predicted. Over time, the 1992 quarter dollar became more than just a coin. It became a symbol of the unpredictable and often fascinating world of coin collecting. It's a world where a single minting error can transform an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. For collectors and investors, the 1992 quarter represented a moment in time when the unlikely could happen. A simple mistake in the minting process could turn a coin worth just 25 cents into one worth millions of dollars. The 1992 quarter dollar also highlighted the passion and dedication of collectors who were willing to devote their time and energy to finding rare and valuable coins. For these collectors, every coin was a potential treasure, and the thrill of the hunt was as much a part of the experience as the financial reward. Today, the 1992 quarter dollar remains one of the most famous and valuable era coins in the world. Its extraordinary rise in value serves as a reminder of how small mistakes in the minting process can have a profound impact on the world of numismatics. As time goes on, it's likely that the 1992 quarter will continue to captivate collectors and investors alike, its value only increasing as it becomes a coveted piece of American coinage history. If you're a coin collector or simply someone who's interested in the fascinating world of numismatics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories about rare coins, valuable discoveries, and the incredible history behind some of the most sought-after treasures in the world of coin collecting. You never know, your next coin might just be worth a fortune.